and come check y'all out.
Well, we're here. One of my favorite places. Conversation with one of the greats and what this is. And I'm Shane Raines. I'll talk with him.
So, fall transit.
Ticket. Hopefully this goes on a replica out of that 20.
Welcome to your live coverage. At 8 pounds with the current right up there.
See how it shakes out.
That's it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on Dock Talk West Virginia. I am your host, Shane Raines, and thank you all for joining me. Hey, listen, I know it's been just a few weeks since been on here. The last live was all the Bass Festival stuff there a couple weekends ago up in St. Mary's. Hopefully you all enjoyed that coverage. They did get to squeeze that tournament in. Luckily, all these COVID regulations for these tournaments throughout the state are finally let up. So as you all know, we have a lot of tournaments going on. Plenty of kayak tournaments going on across the state, and many bass boat tournaments. Finally being able to reschedule some tournaments, working in some of the final trail tournaments. I know Bass Nation wrapped up their final, their 2-day championship, Buddy Trail Championship. It was only a 2-event season for the Buddy Trail this year, but they have some opens coming up, and plenty more offered coming up over the next few months before qualifiers and everything kick off. And so really just wanted to hop on here. Apologize for not really being on here for the last couple of weeks. I got to be honest. Social media is a wonderful tool, but as you know, it's overwhelming getting on there, and just a ton of stuff going on, a lot of negativity all over the place. So, really just kind of took a step back. Wanted to kind of share with you all some thoughts of mine that's going on. No, not politically related, so we keep it all fishing related here, but it's just something that's kind of been on my mind, something kind of exciting. So let me see here. And I need to pull up my chat here before there we go. Sorry about that. So I got just to fill you in a little bit. Like I said, sorry I haven't been on here, but I got a phone call. I got a phone call on my way back from the Bass Festival. Not going to throw out a name. They know who they are, but it was a wonderful phone call that I feel like I've been waiting on. Not specifically from this person, but I took the last couple of weeks to kind of reevaluate the page and the direction it's been going. Not that I'm unhappy with everything the way it's going. It's been great. I love the support. I appreciate the support. But what's exciting is there's a ton of like-minded folks on board for a lot of the issues we know we have as far as bass fishing in and around West Virginia. Small waters, we know Pelegus, the fishing's not always the best. A lot of questions we all have. Where are the fish? Are our populations as good as they were potentially? A few years back? A lot of folks will say no. Everyone's got a different perspective, obviously. We all spend different time on the water at different locations. So anyway, this phone call was extremely encouraging. We got a lot of folks that really pay attention to results and weights and whether or not it's smallmouth, largemouth, or spots, and where these fish are being caught as far as bodies of water. Like I said, I'm not going to go in too deep. All I know is that I took the last couple weeks, really started kind of going over a lot of things, the way I run things on the page. Sorry guys, I'm just getting these daggone comments up, but Tommy, Aaron, thanks for joining in, everybody. But so anywho, I get on here usually weekly. It hasn't always been consistent, so a few thoughts. You all can let me know what you think. But I want to get on a better schedule. So I'm thinking more than likely, I do work nights at UPS for the ones that don't know. So it's kind of tough to do interviews and different things in the evenings, but I have my days free. So I'm really shooting for possibly like a 2 episodes a week deal. Maybe on a Wednesday, we can kind of give some updates. Go through a lot of the results, burn through some of that, let you know some of the terms that are coming up over the next couple weekends, give you an update kind of on how the fishings have been for a lot of folks. So can go a lot of different directions with that, but I do like that concept. Try to give you all a set day that you all can come on to the page and find that information. That's only fair to you, and obviously it would help me out too, so I kind of have a set plan, and that's on me. So I'm going to shoot for potentially every Wednesday, give you kind of just a weekly roundup, just a weekly update on what's going on. And then on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on where all the tournaments are, where I'm heading to cover an event, or what have you is going on that weekend, I'm going to try to squeeze in the interviews. That way you're not sitting through a half hour of kind of talking results, which you can learn a lot by following along with that. But kind of give you the meat of what we're talking about on the weekend so we can start addressing some other things. It is truly a time for us as a community of anglers to really, now that the summer months are coming in, and if you follow along with the tournament results, the weights are starting to drop down. I know there was an event on Burnsville today. You saw some pretty good weights, 12, 11-pound bags, but they're starting to taper off. The spawn's wrapping up pretty well. I know there are still some fish on the bed floating around, but for the most part, the spawn's wrapping up. These fish are moving out to their deeper holes. Summer, we're getting into the water's warming up. Water's going to be pushing 80. It's 80 a lot of places already, but water gets up in the mid 80s, high 80s. These fish go deep. We know where they go. So we are going to try to definitely give you a little bit of update throughout the week on those tournaments. And the weights are kind of, like I said, dropping down. But anywho, and on the weekends, we're going to dive into some few different things. Maybe some like roundtable type discussions. Let's start talking about, as a community, what we need to do. If you follow along with other things going on in the state, I believe it was Off Limits Bass Club worked with the state to stock some bass on the Monongalia, on the Mon River. And if they had wonderful results. These fish were immediately being caught, these tagged fish. So we as a community, maybe we can sit down and have a big discussion. There's definitely some things we can talk about as a group, as a community. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about us. It's about all of us, the youth. So anywho, not going to ramble too much about that. Just give you a little bit of an update. Going to try to get on a better schedule for you all. Give you a consistent time to be able to come onto the page and file that information. Also, today, I do have, we've already recorded this, want to try something a little bit new. I love preparing a good interview with an angler. Usually shoot them a big list of questions, give them an idea of what the direction the interview is going to go. This time around, we got Jonathan Abshire that'll be on. We actually recorded this a little bit earlier because we both were going to be kind of tied up later, but it is unedited. Didn't cut anything out. Just a unscripted talk fishing. All of us, we'll call up our buddies and talk fishing for hours. We learn a lot that way. We share ideas. We share experiences. So I want to kind of give you more of a real interview, a real talk. Just two friends talking about fishing. I think we definitely can learn more, and it's a little bit more relaxed. I love being professional. I feel like we need to be, but a little more unscripted. So that's coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, at the end, After this interview will play, I'm going to stay on here. We can chit chat about whatever, comment on the video, share some ideas with me, with other anglers here. This is a place for all of us. But as the interview goes on, and you'll hear, it's extremely exciting to hear Mr. Jonathan Abshire, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. He'll kind of give you an idea of how he got there, and his journey to get to that point is definitely not typical to what a lot of us are used to that's been tournament fishing for years. This is by far probably the biggest event that they've offered yet in the last few years. Like I said, qualifying event. So he's really going to take us on a journey talking about his experience in kayak fishing, how things have changed over the last few years and his involvement in the sport. Extremely exciting. Very, very fun interview and a great, great guy. So we're gonna play this for you here in just a minute. Like I said, unscripted, just some fun fishing talk. So at the end of this video, please stay tuned. As you see right here beside of me, you see a pile of goodies, and we're going to dive into this. We're close to 1,500 likes and followers on the page. We're going to do a big push. When we hit 2,000 likes or followers, whatever is first, preferably likes, because I think that's exactly how we're going to do this giveaway. All you got to do is like the page. As soon as we hit 2,000 likes on the page, we're going to give away a killer prize package. Things are building. Other people are stepping in and getting involved. This package could easily go over $500. You don't need to do anything but to like the page. But I need your help so we can get to 2,000. It's not mandatory to share. It's not mandatory to tag a friend. If you're not familiar with Facebook policies, that's actually against their policies to run a contest where you're asking people to share and tag. It happens all the time. I do understand that, but we will not be operating a giveaway like that here, unfortunately. But all you got to do is like a page. Like the page, please. And like I said, we all can work together and try to get it. The faster we can get it to 2,000, we're going to be giving away a bunch of cool stuff. So, like I said, killer soft shell jacket here, Spot. This is actually a Spot Trace. A lot of cool features. As you know, Spot satellite communication devices. This is a lifesaver for tracking a stolen boat, stolen items. You can store this somewhere. A lot of cool things. This can actually even be used to keep on your person. So if you're out there by yourself, someone can kind of track along with you. Very exciting. Rod holder, hog trough, Elevation Sports stepped up to offer up some cool stuff. So at the end of the video, I'll go over just a few more things with that. So right now, we're not going to drag it on. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to stick around with y'all. Let's chat it up a little bit. Watch the interview with Jonathan Abshire, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. Coming at you right quick after a couple of the sponsors for the giveaway. What's going on, brother? Thank you for joining us today. Jonathan Abshire, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. How's it going, brother?
Going good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Well, as everybody has seen us kind of promote this little interview, this is definitely something different, and it is Dog Talk West Virginia, unscripted, live. Hopefully you're excited. We got a lot to talk about, and like I said, thanks for your time today, man, and we're going to talk a little bit about your win, brother.
Yeah, let's dive right into it, man.
So, man, for the folks at home, just introduce yourself. I already told them who you were, basically, but introduce yourself quickly and let people know kind of where you're from and how you got started kayak fishing.
Yeah, I'm 39 years old. I live in Buffalo, West Virginia, and I actually got started just by seeing my cousin, who is Beth Rapp, kind of get, her photos and John and them doing the WVKA, and just thought, man, this would be something I'd like to do. Thought it would be fun and, just kind of get to hang out with some people. Actually, in the job that I was in at that time, I had quite a few customers who were actually doing it. And so I kind of thought, this might be a good thing to get into, to be with customers and kind of, relate to them, and, looking at it from a sales standpoint as well. So, and then it just kind of all snowballed from there. So,
Yeah, man. I definitely, for sure. Contacts, I mean, if anything, mingle with like-minded folks, go out, fish, hop in a kayak, and compete a little bit and have a good time, obviously doing it. Best of both worlds, really. Be able to get out there and possibly get a friend and a customer. You can't beat that,
Yeah, and it really started out, making contacts in sales, going out and meeting the customers, and I really became friends with everybody before I actually became, known as their sales guy. So they kind of got me talked into it as well. There's several of them that got me into it. So,
well, man, you and I've known each other for a few years now, but let's rewind just a little bit. Let's kind of go back a little bit, because you've shared with me before that you got a little bit different story, and we'll kind of dive into your win on the Gold Series event, the first ever Gold Series event or Gold event with West Virginia Kayak Anglers. But your story's just a little bit more unique than maybe some, maybe not all. Man, rewind 3 years for us a little bit and give the folks at home an idea of, for your first ever tournament win. Rewind 3 years. Give the folks at home an idea where you were then.
3 years ago, I was a recreational fisherman. Maybe 1 or 2 times a year, might get a phone call or something from a friend that needed somebody to go with that day, or, something like that, and go jump on a boat with them and go. Work got in the way a lot, and, things of that nature, just never really had time. But I mean, 3 years ago is when I actually started competitive fishing. Never done it before in my life. Had no clue what I was getting into. So, just kind of jumped into it and went full force, I guess, so to say.
Well, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like we've talked a little bit about it before, but man, give the folks at home also showing up at your first ever tournament. What was your mind frame going in? I mean, 3 years ago, to never really competitively fish, not only that, but kind of just getting in a kayak to be able to go and compete. Purchasing a kayak, honestly, I did the same thing. Granted, I mean, yeah, I'd been fishing a long time, and Dad's always took me when we were younger, but, and many times throughout the year, but I went out and bought a kayak, the same deal. Someone told me about Mountain State Kayak Anglers. I would go out and buy a boat, and I want in, because I already had some tournament experience. But for your first ever tournament, what was your mind frame going into that, man, to really not know what's expected?
Don't flip. That was really kind of my first thought, because my wife's going to kill me if I go out here in this first ever event. I've spent all this money on rods and tackle and all this stuff, and I'm going to look like a complete idiot out here on my first trip. So, that was kind of my first tournament. It was, I went out, that was the big thing, was don't flip, but I just kind of wanted to go out and do what I knew how to do.
Yeah. Where were you at? Where'd y'all go? Or where was the first tournament?
Oh Lord. Where was my Summersville, I believe, if I remember right, on my anniversary.
Oh, wow. And she let you go.
And she let me go. Yeah. So, and if I remember right, I went out that first year, and I think I ended up catching 3 that day. So I didn't even get a limit, but I didn't skunk. So, and I didn't turn over. So it was a win-win all the way around.
Well, and you and I both know you go in, if it's any time early spring, that water's freezing cold. So that's definitely the objective. I think that's the objective for all of us. I know Tim Isaacs, he always posts before every tournament weekend, hey, everybody on the water, have a great time, be safe, and stay upright. A lot of folks do. And that is the truth, man. You do not want to take a swim, especially with all that gear in a kayak, rods, reels, baits. You name it, people run cameras all over their boats now, and there's a lot of money invested to be flipping over and potentially losing a lot of gear. So I can definitely relate to that, man, as a main priority.
Yeah, and unfortunately, unfortunately, that happened earlier on this year in March. Uh, Speed with a Torqeedo and stumps do not equal. I mean, they're
No
just bad
kidding.
they're bad combinations, and I lost quite a bit of gear.
Well, for anyone at home that doesn't know what he's talking about when he says Torqeedo makes a phenomenal electric motor. Jonathan can attest to that. A lot of speed out of those things now. And not only that, but you've got a high dollar, expensive, not only the motor, but the battery is very pricey. Lithium battery can run you for many, many, many miles and a long time. So I'm assuming hit a stump, flip over, lose. I mean, did you lose anything? Everything stay on the boat?
Oh no. There was my pride, I think, was the biggest thing. I ain't never gained back yet. No, there was some. I had actually a custom-made fishing rod that a dear friend of mine made, Todd Grinstead, made for me. It's got my name and everything on it, and Luke 137 Bible verse on it, and it's laying at the bottom of the lake with a couple other brand new Denali rods that I had just got.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
there might be another item laying down at the bottom of the lake too, but I won't disclose what that was. But I only say there's at least a minimum of $1,000 laying on the bottom
Lord.
of the lake.
Well, I think we've all been there. We've all been there, man. I've hooked a rod with a crankbait and slung it over the side of the kayak. I've done those things many times too, but that's just part of the game.
It is.
But man, so since we got a little bit of backstory for the folks at home, like I said, Jonathan Abshire right here with us today. He is your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. Give the folks at home just an idea of what the Gold Event was, just real quick. How did you get in this event?
The Gold Event that was hosted by the WVKA was a invitation-only event. The top 35 anglers before that event were invited to go. I actually got in because not all the top 35 didn't make it or didn't want to go, and got an invite to go that way. I'd had a couple decent years and got invited to go. So,
well, yeah, man, for sure, and here's the deal. No matter how somebody gets to an invitational tournament to fill those slots, I know $2,000 was on the line. Yes. $2,000 to first, $1,000 to second, and like $500 to third. It really was the first really invitational where you really kind of had to work your way up through to go be invited to a kind of a mid-season type event to compete for a large chunk of money, $3,500 total bucks being paid out. That's nothing to kind of shake your head at. I mean, that's some big money on the line for such a limited field. And for me, that's what really made that an exciting event to kind of follow along and see what happens. But for a guy that's only been fishing for 3 years, I think it's a very interesting topic to dive into with. Give me your mind frame. I mean, give me your honest mind frame going into an event against 35 highly qualified, more than likely, and this is in no means a bash, but, I mean, with more experience, more tournament experience. What was the mind frame really going into that event? Where were you at mentally?
Mentally, it was, good luck from the wife and kids. And then my thought was, I ain't got a prayer. I mean, I mean, I might be able to finish halfway in the field. And I mean, I'm just being completely honest
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's some extremely good sticks out there that was invited to that event. I mean, Mark Edwards for one. I mean, we all know where he placed earlier in the year for the Bassmaster event, and
Absolutely.
I mean, phenomenal angler. Um, I mean, I can mention several more. Blaine Winters, Jerry Spradling, Steve Gunner. I mean, guys that have been doing it for a while. That have way more experience at it than I do.
Right, right, right. Uh, and it's an intimidating thing. Like you said, going into the first event ever, you ever fished 3 years ago, you buy a kayak, you go show up, you hope you just don't tip. You get some experience under your belt as far as how a tournament actually works. And then you go and you qualify for such a huge event with by far some of the best sticks in the state. Fishing this invitational kayak event with West Virginia kayak anglers, and y'all were on Stevens Lake, obviously. And if anyone doesn't know anything about Stevens Lake, fairly small lake just outside of Beckley, Harper Road exit. If you're heading south, hang a right. It's several miles back down in there, and it's an unlimited horsepower lake. Here we are, right in the middle of COVID season, I guess you could say. Everyone's dying to hit the water. And here you are in the heat of everyone trying to get out. We're just past Memorial Day weekend. Everyone's out on the water. What was the experience like going on a small body water, unlimited horsepower, trying to go out and find some fish for this event? And knowing that you're competing against these guys, man.
First time on the water, it was not good. I got on the water, and I think I literally was maybe on the water for 2 hours. And I was so frustrated. I couldn't find fish. I was getting rocked every time I turned around. People weren't paying attention in the boats and jet skis of what they were doing. And,
yeah.
I mean, it was insane. I was quite aggravated when I got back to the boat ramp. I mean, I literally almost left. I had told several people and actually planned on leaving and not fishing that event. I was so aggravated. But, calmed down a little bit and, just said, well, I'm just going to go do it, I guess, and just, let the chips fall where they may. So,
well, yeah. I mean, you go out and you pound on the water, trying to pre-fish. You're getting beat up by boats. And that doesn't matter if you're in a kayak or in a bass boat or what have you, when you're really trying to cover some water, figure something out. And, I've been to that lake only once that I can recall, maybe twice. But that lake reminds me of a mini Summersville, very similar. You get way back in some of those little creek arms, and that lake, shallows up, winds back in there a little ways. There are obviously some areas that you can kind of get into where, actually, I don't think there's any no wake area on that lake that I recall. I don't remember seeing any buoy, maybe by the dam, maybe. I think it's maybe one little area.
One small one by the what they call a kayak launch only.
Yeah,
it's literally like 5 feet from the ramp. So
right. You're feeling it regardless, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So you go out pre-fish. Obviously it was kind of a struggle. You're fighting the traffic and the people, and we're all sharing the water. So we're all trying to enjoy it. Feeling defeat. Obviously you decide to stick it out to fish the tournament. What happens? I mean, when you start your day that morning, you got 35 out of the best anglers in the state by far going in to compete for this event for $2,000, a lot on the line. How long did it take you to kind of get out there, get settled in, and get in some kind of groove?
We got on the water that morning, and I almost always launch with Steve Gunner, a dear friend of mine. Love him to death. Think of him, just like my dad. And we're sitting there on the water, and usually when Steve and I get together, there's usually some laughs. That kind of helps just kind of settle some things down. It's usually at my expense most of the time, but it kind of breaks the ice. So, just kind of gets things calm, and takeoff comes. We take off and head to our spot. And again, kind of a shout out to Torquedo, because had it not been for the Torquedo, we wouldn't have got where we were. We wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have been the first ones there. So, we get there and it's calm. Fog's coming off the water. Just a real slight breeze, and I do what I try to do. I'm not perfect. We all make mistakes. But I started praying, and I try to talk to God before every tournament, and just pray for everybody to be safe, and that's the main thing. Regardless of how we all do, the money and all that stuff, second. As long as we all make it all home, and especially considering the conditions down there with the crazy boaters and the, it was.
Every person locally that uses that lake is out there. Like I said, I've been on that lake. You better pray for sure in the morning. I can only imagine what it's like in a kayak. Never been on it in a kayak, been on it in my boat, but dude, and tubers, skiers, I can only imagine, because that lake, for everyone that doesn't know, imagine Plum Orchard, maybe times 2. I'd have to pull up some stats and let y'all know, but you might have 3/4 of a mile that a boat can actually run. So, dude, I can't imagine how crazy that lake was for that tournament. So, yeah, you blast off, you burn to your spot. Here we go, Prayers said, hoping, and that's the main thing. We all do this for fun, but more than anything, take care of yourself, help out your other angler, try to get home safe. Absolutely 100% with you on that. So you get to your first spot. Luckily with the Torquedo, you make it there. You can't, here you are, starting first cast. It's time to get going. And I know a little bit about your tournament experience that day, obviously winning the thing, so you caught some fish. But, what do you start out with? Did you let maybe struggling in pre-fishing affect how you prepared for the tournament? We all go back and rig our rods, and, from what you said, you're a little bit rattled from the traffic on the water, but, what are you prepared to start the day with? How are you preparing for the tournament? And kind of give me a little bit of a breakdown on how that progressed over the first few hours of the tournament.
Yeah, I started out that morning with a popper, and I probably hadn't thrown a popper in 2 years. And honestly, I don't do a lot of top water at all, which is kind of completely crazy, because that's a good way to catch fish, especially that early in the morning.
Absolutely.
I just don't have a ton of success with it, and that's just me. A lot of people are better at different things, and me and topwater, we just don't get along. It's like relatives we don't like. That's. But I get out there and I'm throwing a popper, and I'm not getting any bites, and I actually see some fish swimming, cruising, 3, 4, 5 foot deep, somewhere in that neighborhood. There was a little bit of structure in that area that I was in, and mapped a big tree that was coming down off the water down in the lake, and his limbs just spread out everywhere. And I, there's something holding up around all that structure down there in the water.
Especially there. Especially at that lake.
Yes.
For that lake, like I said, it's for everyone at home. If you haven't been to Stevens, it is a mini Summersville. Very little structure along the bank at all. It reminds me of running back in Battle Run. You might have a few laydowns coming off of the bank. Of course, they've done a lot of work back in Battle Run now, but imagine it before they went in and cut down all those trees and sunk those big trees and built up all that structure. That's kind of what you're dealt with out there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. So you're seeing some cruising fish. Now, this was obviously a couple weeks ago. Your knowledge of the spawn, we know that some fish were probably, most likely, already finished up spawning. You might have some late spawners, as we know, and you're starting to see some cruisers that are just kind of out there cruising around. No luck with the popper? What happens after those? Nothing.
No luck at all with the popper. And then I grab a crankbait because I see them fish, cruising, and that's pretty clear water. And I had 2 different crankbaits tied on 2 different rods. So I grab one of them, start flinging it around, and nothing. And I grab another crankbait, start flinging it around, nothing. I didn't know if it was a collar thing, a presentation thing, what was going on. And it just, I was just wasn't getting anything. And I thought, man, this is going to be a repeat. And I mean, that was probably within the first half hour of fishing, because we start fishing at 6:30. So
Yeah.
7 o'clock, I was frustrated, and I was actually sitting there and I was still praying. I was like, God, if you don't want me to do this no more, I actually had somebody tell me that, there might be a day where he says, I don't want you to do this no more, and I need to be prepared to walk away. And I absolutely love it. I love doing it. And, and I said, if this is not what you want me to do, I just need to know. I need to sign, something. And it was, I think, 7:20. And I got something just kind of told me to look over my right shoulder. And when I did, I turned my head and looked, and I had a rod on the back end of the wilderness box there, the wilderness crate. And it was my rod with my Senko on it. So I got it, grabbed it, and within 3 casts, I got my first fish, 17 1/4, which is a phenomenal fish to start out on. So,
well, and we'll get to kind of how that progresses after kind of getting that something in the back of your head, intuition, fate, faith. I mean, you name it, a lot of different, however someone wants to look at it. Something told you to look over your shoulder. I can relate to that. There's a lot of times that, man, I didn't listen to whatever my gut was telling me or a little voice in my head. And, you don't catch any more fish in the tournament, or you really struggle, or you're having a hard time. And then there's been times that, you kind of commit to what you're feeling. And next thing you know, things start kind of adding up a little bit, start to piece the kind of the puzzle together. That's something that a lot of anglers, veteran anglers that get kind of in a funk that just, we all get in that stage where, man, I just struggle to catch fish. What am I doing wrong? Type deal. So I think we all can kind of learn from that. Trust your gut, trust the signs you're potentially given. Just got to be open to kind of, be open to look for those things. That is an awesome testament to be able to share with others also, of just kind of trusting your gut when you feel that, because there's always someone out there that's on fish. We know that. Yeah. It's hard to compete with these folks, but you can or don't have to, up to you. But, just to rewind just a little bit, you say, hey, man, I was really debating, man, is this right for me? This competitive fishing. For the folks at home, if you don't know, I know a lot of you are tournament anglers. This costs a ton of money when we start adding up stuff. I mean, I think you can agree, man. Boats, whether it's a kayak or a boat, rods, reels, all the equipment. Not only that, just getting to these events, entry fees, it starts to weigh on you a little bit of, and a lot of folks have gone through this, and I think pros, especially people that really take that step forward to try to compete at the professional level potentially, but spend thousands of dollars for a single entry fee. And it just gets to the point where you just can't do that, whether it's a mental drain on your family being away and the money you're spending. But, for you to get that sign when, we all want to go compete, man. It's tough showing up at a tournament knowing how good these folks are, these anglers are. And I've been there plenty of times, especially when I go to a body of water and I'm fishing a tournament of just not very experienced there, don't have a lot of knowledge of the body of water. Man, what's it feel like, if you don't care to share with everybody, what's it feel like when you really get that sign that, and you know, okay, man, something's happening right now, and let's see where this goes.
You know, I no sooner got those words out of my mouth when I hooked into that first fish. And of course, you know, you don't ever know what you got. You know, it comes up, jumps, you know, whatever. And that thing come up and jumped, and I was like, daggone, this is a good fish, you know. And I get the thing in the boat, you know, of course, you know, that's when the chaos kind of, you know, takes off, you know, when you're kayak fishing, because, you know, you got to get it on the fish grips, get it in the water, make sure those are tied on, you know, you start getting your board ready. I mean, there's so much stuff that, I mean, it's not really a lot, but it's just so much running through your mind all at one point. And, you know, I get that fish, you know, get it the picture, and then back on the fish grips, check it to make sure I got a good picture and everything. And then after that happened, it was just like, it was almost like a weight. It was like, you know, is this just, you know, if was this really, you know, not that I question God, but I always like to make sure I'm kind of black and white in a way. Is that real? Did I understand your sign right? You know, did
I can respect that. Yeah, for sure, man. I get it. Was that a sign that I was looking for? I think we were all looking for some type of sign on what we're meant to do. And it's got to feel good, you know. I mean, you're still wondering, okay, there's a fish. I grabbed my Senko rod. I got confidence in it, and that's something else. You got to have confidence in what you're throwing. It's so easy to get wrapped up in what every other angler's out there doing. It sucks when you see someone catch fish and you know someone's on fish. But when you can kind of fish your strengths, and I'm a firm believer in confidence is key. It's 70% of the game. If you show up feeling defeated already, you're really way behind the rest of the field. You catch this fish on a Senko. I mean, how long do you commit to that? I mean, you know, when you pick up a Senko, and that's crystal clear water. If you've never been there, like he's saying, you know, you catch a quality fish. So, I mean, where's it steamroll from there?
You know, I caught that fish, and you know, I'm super confident in a Senko. I mean, when I first started 3 years ago, you know, that's what I threw. I mean, I didn't hardly have anything else. You know, I've had a few things in the boat, but that's just because I can show them off and they look pretty, you know. So, you know, try to make them. I mean, it makes it look like I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And you know, last year I got to where I started trying to do crankbaits and chatterbaits and, you know, things of that nature, trying to expand my game. And, you know, because I was really into it. This is something I want to do. And then, so I'm trying to broaden my horizons. And then, you know, I did fairly well, you know, not as good as what I'd like to. And then I go out here and I'm in this, you know, this big tournament for around here, you know, that's a huge tournament.
Oh,
and I catch my first fish on a Senko, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, I'm confident in this. And then, you know, Mark Edwards the day before, you know, he saw me being quite aggravated and ready to leave. And, you know, he's like, man, you just got to be confident, you know. And when I caught that first one on that, you know, his words rang back in my head, and I'm super confident in that. And I kind of live by the, you know, if you get one on it, okay, you know, you could have a, you know, a fish that was just hungry or, you know, whatever, a crazy one, whatever. If you get two, you're starting to get some kind of idea.
Yeah.
So I actually caught that fish in the sun. It was a little chilly to me anyway that morning, the fog, and then the wind was blowing, and I had that little intuition or thought, you know, something told me to go across this little cove to this other little point. And I went over there, and second cast, I think it was a 15 3/4.
Goodness.
And I was like, man alive, you got to be kidding me. So I've apparently found so far what I think is what they want. So I think I caught those two fish within like 45 minutes or something like that. You know, it was there was a little bit of time in there because I'm slower than Moses, man. It takes me forever to measure fish and stuff. So I just want to make sure everything's good. But, you know, I got over there and I get that fish and I get it measured and I kind of start working my way back over to where I had just caught that 17 and a quarter and was kind of working up along that bank. And it never fails. My wife called right not long after that. And every time she calls, I catch a fish. I mean, I don't care where I'm at. If she calls, it happens. I don't know what the deal is, but it happens.
Hey, and, not to interrupt you, but there might be a lot of men out there, guys out there saying, huh, buddy, you're the only one that's good luck. Usually nobody wants that phone call out there. That's all joking, but
yeah.
Of course, we want to hear from our wives and girlfriends out there, but it is. I mean, most people aren't looking to get a phone call, but hey, you get that lucky phone call. That's a pretty cool deal, man. Not many folks say that's good luck.
Yeah, and many don't. Most of them. I know people said, don't call me while I'm fishing. I mean, and I don't mind. You talk to them. I'll talk to the kids. The Apple
absolutely.
The Apple Watch is great because I'm still hands free. I'm talking on the Apple Watch and fishing, and it doesn't bother me at all. But I ended up catching 2 fish with her on the phone.
Wow, how cool! How cool, man! So, that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was great, and she was actually getting ready to get down the road and was like, I got to get off the phone. I'm like, nope, sorry. Lay the phone down. I don't care. Go take a shower, put your makeup on. I don't care what you're doing. You're staying on the phone. I got 4 fish at this point.
Well, man, just real quick, if you're just now joining us, we've got Jonathan Abshire on the line, live right here, video chat. He is sharing his experience. Really, this is your first ever Dog Talk West Virginia, unscripted. We're just talking fishing. That's what we all love to do. We all spend hours on the phone with our buddies talking fishing. So that's what we're doing. We're going to try to share some knowledge learned during this tournament, share experiences to help show what the possibilities are to get involved in competitive fishing and just how much fun it is. But, man, let me ask you this. So you're 4 fish in. I keep kicking my mic, but you're 4 fish in. If you're willing to share, you said you pull up, you throw a Cinco on a point. So, and this is one thing I'm gonna say, this is a little bit off topic, but the kayak community, in my opinion, not everybody, and this isn't a negative thing or anything like that, but the kayak community, it seems to be always so willing to kind of share some info. Obviously, we all have our secrets. We all going to keep a little bit in our back pocket for certain bodies of water. But, man, are you willing to share a little info were you fishing structure? I mean, were you pulling up on a point with a single lay down on it? Were you staying back off of the bank, seeing those cruising fish and just making a long cast? We talking wacky rig or what'd you have going on, man?
I had a 5-inch Texas rig weightless with a 4-aught hook. And I run 30-pound braid on all my spinning reels with a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, which, a lot of people prefers 8, when you start getting into that clear water and stuff. But I just went with what I had. I don't even think I have any 8-pound fluoro right now to tie on for leader. So I just went with what I had, But there was some structure that I was seeing, and it was really kind of inconsistent because the 17 and a quarter was just off the bank, probably 5 feet. The 15 and 3/4 was, literally almost right on the bank. I don't know how I didn't even see the fish, but I try to fish at what I think looks fishy, if that makes any sense at all.
No, I can 100% respect that. In a place like that, I think that's one of the most logical things to do with very limited cover unless you get way back in those creek arms. But for sure, I mean, granted, you get some places it's like, daggone, dude, everything looks fishy. Everything looks good here. But, you know, and from what I gather from you, a lot of it's instinct. You know, that looks good. You picked up a couple, and I think we do a lot of things without even really assessing or thinking about it. I can't tell you how many times I've caught a fish and thought, oh, man, I can't tell you. Yeah, I flipped a jig over on a lay down on the bank, but I really didn't pay attention to how far I worked that off before I got that bite. You know, whether it's lackadaisical, just not paying attention, distracted, whatever the case may be. But yeah, for sure, fish something fishy. So you got 4 fish. You're still slinging that Senko around. You know, what did it take, and how long did you have to wait for your final 5th fish to fill your limit?
I think I caught my 4th at around 10 o'clock, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. I actually didn't catch my 5th one till 12. It was 12 or 12:30. So, and I was fishing basically the same areas over and over. I would go back, I'd hit a spot, you know, go down the bank and then kind of work something else and run into somebody, and I just turn right back around and go on the same bank that I just fished. And I think I caught 7 fish total that day, and, you know, caught a couple of fish, you know, off where I had just been.
Right,
So,
right. And like you said, after the fact, it was a struggle for a lot of folks. And, you know, the old saying, don't leave fish to find fish. And when the bite's tough, man, and I'm not very good about it. I'm going to completely be honest. I'm not very good about, even if I catch 2 fish in a area, say on the Kanawha River, which that's, you know, different than a lot of fisheries. But, and you know, there's got to be some more fish around, especially if you're catching some quality fish. And, you know, I got a bad habit of just running new water, new spots. And I commend you on that, dude. That's to turn around and force yourself to fish that same area over and over. Obviously, it paid off for you to be able to fill your limit and obviously catch a 5th fish. And as we know, to go on and win this event, man, what's it mean? I ask a lot of people that. And I do. I ask that a lot. What's it mean to win an event? Because we all know, I mean, it's a challenge to compete. It's hard to stay on top of your game all the time. You know, I always compare fishing to golf. I know that sounds crazy, but, you know, a golfer goes out, they dominate for a year or two, and then they kind of just fall off the map. It's one of those sports, fishing is, in my opinion, that it's just so hard, unless you're Jacob Wheeler, to stay on top of your game nonstop and to compete. So, man, what's it really mean to you? I know 3 years deep into competitive fishing with basically no prior knowledge and experience fishing tournaments. Man, what's it really mean to you, man?
Man, we're 2 weeks out and I'm still in shock. I mean, it's just 100% honesty. You know, like I said, there was the state's best 35 guys were on that lake. And I mean, I'm humbled to be able, we all question ourselves at times, sometime, you know, whether it's, you know, am I throwing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? You know, I mean, there's just so many things in life that we question. And in a way, it was of course, you know, like I started out my prayers, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But it, you know, it really solidified, you know, okay, I can do this. I can fish with some of these guys. And I think it's going to be like anything else here forward. It's going to be like life. It's going to be a roller coaster. But I can hang with a lot of these guys that are way more experienced than I am. Way more. I mean, I think it was just I had a extremely blessed day that day. I mean, it was just, that's pretty much what it was.
Hey, and when you're competing against 35 other guys, I'll take a blessed day anytime, man. I will take a blessed day against other these phenomenal anglers we have in our state. You know, absolutely anytime, man. Well, I'll tell you what, in all honesty, from me to you, congrats, dude. I mean, that's a huge
you.
win. Something to be proud of. I know that feeling, and I think every angler's been through that. And if you're at home, man, comment. Let us know. What was your first tournament experience like? What was your first win like? I can definitely agree with you, man. On you win one and you're proud. The hard work is paying off, at least for one event. You feel like, hey, man, it's finally my time. But in the end, you had to catch the fish. Yes, fishing's got a little bit of luck, probably a lot of luck at times, but you still had to catch, you still had to hook the fish, you still had to fight the fish in. And if you've never fished a kayak tournament, like you said earlier, man, the battle just begun when that fish gets in the boat. You got to measure it. You got to put it on the board. You got to get your picture. I mean, it is a cluster. If people could see that live, it's a mess, man. It really is.
It really is. It's a little tornado on your own little boat there is what it is.
Well, man, that's awesome. Before we go, we're about 43 minutes in. Before we go, if you could go back, and this is definitely a question on the spot, but I was thinking about this earlier. If you could go back and change anything about your tournament experiences prior to this win, or maybe even go back to that first tournament ever, but if you could go back and change something, I know that's none of us want to change anything, but with your knowledge you have now, knowing and feeling that you can compete with these anglers, obviously you can, but what would you tell yourself, man? In past maybe experiences when it was just tough.
Don't quit. Don't not believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, just keep digging, keep praying. I mean, that really should be the first. I'm not trying to preach or anything, but he's helped through me through so many struggles and stuff in my life. And, if we do right by him, then we get rewarded. And, that's, I just feel like kind of that's what that was. I mean, just don't doubt. Don't be doubtful.
Yeah. Don't self-doubt. I mean, like you said, even though you only had 3 years of tournament experience, that's still a lot of time. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of experience on the water, learning and growing as an angler, and really taking a butt whooping for a lot of you. I mean, we've all been there, though. So that's something that we all can relate to. And it really speaks volumes to you and every other angler that just puts their head down, believe in your skill, believe in what you've learned, trust your gut. If for me, man, I mean, I love hearing that because it just reiterates that trust your gut, trust your feeling, trust your knowledge, be confident in what you're throwing. Just like Mark said, be confident, and know your limits sometimes. I'm not a swim bait guy for me personally. I know this is completely random, but, if someone says, man, they're on a big 5-inch swim bait, slow rolling on the bottom, that's not my strength. It really isn't. And we're all guilty of trying new techniques, even in a tournament, because you're hearing dock talk and them saying, hey, listen, dude, they're on a Carolina rig lizard. Well, if you've never thrown a Carolina rig, and don't even know where to start, there's a lot that goes into that. Well, I mean, you're kind of setting yourself up for a little bit of failure there and disappointment. So that's definitely something we all can learn. Man, listen, I appreciate your time, genuinely. Won't keep you any longer. Thanks again. Thanks again for sharing your story and being raw and just open. Unscripted. We hope you like this new concept of just talking fishing. I think we all learn a lot more from that. A little less structured interview, I guess you could say, man. But congratulations. And like I said, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner right on Stevens Lake. But, man, before I let you go, got any shout-outs any thank yous you want to throw out there? I always want to give you an opportunity for that, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've said this multiple times already, but first and foremost, I thank God for giving me the opportunity to be able to go out and do this and enjoy what He's created, and for a family that supports me to go out and do this. I mean, obviously she wouldn't call me on the water if she didn't, but Denali Rods, thank them, and Secret Lures, being 3 years in, and have some big name, sponsors like that, and Gunner's Logo Works. I mean, Steve's had my back from day one, and can't never thank him enough. So, that's, I thank all those guys in the WVKA for the opportunity. It was really them and a few other people, that Jerry Spradling, Todd Grinstead, those guys that really convinced me into getting into this. And I mean, I don't regret it at all, not one bit. I love every minute of it. And I've actually fished less this year than I have in the past several years. I've had stupid hours on the water in the last couple of years, and I fished less this year, and it's definitely showing. I'm missing it, and wishing I could get out there a little more. But
well, yeah, and I think with all this COVID stuff, we all can relate to that. We want to fish as much as we can. 2020 has been absolutely crazy, but hey, less time on the water. Phone calls from the wife. Sounds like you got a recipe for success kind of in your back pocket. So everybody at home, tell your wife call you middle of next tournament next time, and maybe that'll bring you a little bit of extra good luck.
It'll pay out for you.
Well, man, listen, thank you so much for just being honest and open to talk fishing with me today. I hope everyone at home has enjoyed this interview. But phenomenal guy right here. Jonathan Abshire, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. Thanks again, brother, for coming on. We really appreciate your time, buddy.
You're welcome, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure. Well, what's going on? So there you have it. Your interview with Jonathan Abshire, your first ever West Virginia Kayak Anglers Gold Event winner. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed something a little bit different. Just a couple guys talking fishing. We all can tune in. Just enjoy the show. I love the aspect of everybody can kind of comment along, interact with each other. I really respect him opening up with us and really sharing his journey over the last 3 years. I mean, this guy basically, other than going out and fishing a couple times a year, like he said, has zero experience tournament fishing. So there's a place for all of us in competitive angling. We as a community always, and I think we all do a really good job of it, of welcoming new anglers in, showing them way, maybe throwing them a bone every now and then, helping them out a little bit, wherever you see fit. But wonderful interview, just a wonderful guy and well-deserved. Faith, family, friends. I mean, his priorities are truly in line, and of course, in no particular order. But just a wonderful guy, well deserved. Worked really, really hard, and you see kind of where that goes. Jonathan Cart commented, 15 anglers didn't even put a fish on the board. Extremely tough tournament, extremely tough. So thank you all for sticking around for that. I know it really stretched out kind of long. I could sit on the phone for hours and just talk fishing. So I hope you all enjoy that and expect more of that. Like I said, we're going to try to get on a schedule. I've got some other interviews lined up just to let you know. We've got the Bass Festival winners coming on. Tony Brown, Dustin Blair. Sorry, mine went blank for a second, but they're going to come on, do an interview, talk about the Bass Festival, talk about their journey, and just talk about fishing in general. We have the new Buddy Trail champions, Joe Wiseman, Lane Parkers. We got some wonderful, wonderful content coming to you. So I just really appreciate all your all support. So not going to drag us on. Jason Plumley, Southern West Virginia Kayak Anglers, was gracious enough to kind of slide back his live, and it should be going on now. So just real quick, because I know some folks need to get over there for that. Giveaway. Like I said, when we hit 2,000 likes on the page, there will be a big giveaway. There are some other folks stepping in to offer up some things as well. Just going to burn through just a couple things just to give you an idea of kind of what we're looking at for this. Ridge Runner Rods. Dwight Wall's been so gracious over the years to me. Always supports me for the crazy stuff I get wrapped up in. But he is donating. He's adding a rod into the giveaway. Basically a 7-foot, I think he said a 7-foot medium heavy, your choice casting or spinning rod, custom built just for you. Okay. He's throwing that in. Like I said, I've got you a Spot trace unit. We're going to throw that in. Soft shell jacket, rod holder, Andrew Hitchcock. Let me throw this up here real quick. Sorry, I know I'm running kind of fast, but Andrew Hitchcock, Elevation Sports. You've seen this image many times. He's so gracious, offering free shipping for a lot of the guys using the Dog Talk code. He's going to actually throwing up 3 hog troughs, actually 3 different packages, 3 hog trough and T-shirt packages. So we're going to find a cool way to give out those other 2 hog trough and T-shirt packages. Also, of course, Starter JT Custom Jigs. I think he said he's going to throw up, 6 crankbaits of your choice to the random winner. And like I said, we're not doing like, share, tag 100 friends, all this jazz. One, it's against Facebook policies. I know a lot of folks do it, but we're not going to go that route. We're going to stick to in the rules, play by the rules, and of course, just one lucky winner, one random winner. So those details will be out. Got a couple more folks lining up some cool prizes and giveaways to add to this. This could easily get up over the $500 range. Very excited to be able to offer that to one lucky winner. That's just a thank you for all of you supporting me. For all of you supporting the bass fishing community, the tournament community, up-and-coming youth anglers, conservation, that's something we're really going to get on. That was the three founding kind of keys to all this for me anyways, was, the angler. Recognize the anglers. Let's start getting some more recognition, hopefully on a bigger scale for our anglers. And there's a lot more that I can do and we can do to do that. And of course, the youth, without the youth getting involved, we're not going to be able to do this forever. We got to get the youth involved. We need to find ways to offer them chances to be able to fish a tournament, whether it be kayak or bass boat. So I'd love to see more folks get involved with that when available. And of course, conservation. We got many talks to have as a community. It's about all of it. It's not about me. I'm not doing any of this for me. I enjoyed to be here talking to you all. Invested a lot of time and more money than probably what I'd be willing to admit. But this is what I love and my passion is. So if we all can work together, man, I really think we can have something great. Oh, dude, sweet. Sorry, I just now saw this. Ken Hackworth, Bass Nation of West Virginia president. Great buddy of mine. He's donating 5 Bass Nation West Virginia kayak division hats. Awesome. Ken, thanks, brother. That is super cool. And I kind of got a feeling there's going to be some other folks step in. This is going to be fun. It's time to start rewarding you all for supporting this movement and push that with Dog Talk as far as just exposing the wonderful things we have in this state. And the anglers put in so much time and money traveling the state. And it's time that we also start working with the state the best way we know how to give them the information to let them know what we really need. And we're not going to get too deep because I've got a ton of info with the conservation stuff that we'll cover eventually. But giveaway coming up. As soon as we hit 2,000 likes, please help us get there. Share the page, asking friends to like. It's not a mandatory. I'm going to get the contest details out soon. But as always, thank you so much for joining this evening. Expect, hopefully, an upcoming episode. We're going to shoot for Wednesday. So expect an episode to drop, a pre-recorded episode on Wednesday. Give you all the updates coming up weekends as far as tournaments, what to look forward to. We'll try to catch up on some results. And I apologize to all these winners. I really got behind, like I said, just really reevaluating the direction that we can go to make us more interesting about all of us. So thank you all for joining me. I know it's run along. I'm going to hop off here. I hope all of you have had a wonderful weekend. And until next time, you know what I say. We'll see you on the water. Y'all have a great night.